Our panelists include Anne Laurent, Director of Professional Practice and Innovation at the National Contract Management Association, Larry Sosa, APG Program Integrator at Army Contracting Command, Matt Willis, Director of Army Prize Competitions and Army Applied Cyber Programs, Dr. Casey Purley, Director of Insights and Analysis at AAL, and Brian Cook, co-leads for ABM's AFC and ForceCom's account. Team, come on up, join me on stage, please. Let's give them an applause. Here. Gotta get you some clapping.
Yeah. All right.
Which side? Do you see nothing? Go ahead. Yeah. So we've also got some colleagues joining us virtually, so I think they're gonna pop up in a minute.
I think we have 3 at least.
We can see you guys back there. Are they coming up on our sides too?
I don't know.
They're right there.
Okay.
Only there.
There we go.
There's Anne.
Fantastic. There's everybody.
I think Anne's on mute.
Yeah.
Everyone, can you please unmute yourselves?
Do we have to
That's
unmute
because
them?
I'm muted, of course.
Got it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anne Laurent. You just saw me, heard me introduced along with the rest of the team today. I'm going to be the inquisitor for our group. I wanted to just clarify a couple of things real quick. One is what is a director of professional practice and innovation? What's pertinent for today is that I run the National Contract Management Association's Acquisition Innovation Weekly, which is an online newspaper that curates dozens of reports and articles and other sources of information about acquisition innovation. And then I also curate the Acquisition Innovation Hub, which is our online place for not just the weekly newspaper, but also all of our innovations columns from our magazine, Contract Management, a blog called Outside the Box, and lots of other cool, groovy stuff. So that is why I think folks asked me to come and participate with you guys today. Another thing that I'm hoping is that Casey will actually explain why she is called doctor, because I want you to hear what those degrees are that she has. They're truly scary and frightening. I think she may be a bio warrior in disguise. So I wanted to share with you just a quick couple of anecdotes before we start, just for fun, because we ran stories in our magazine I just referenced that are very pertinent to what we're doing today. One of them is by a guy by the name of Andrew Boyne. It's called Making the Pentagon an Even More Attractive Customer for Artificial Intelligence Upstarts. That's pretty counterintuitive nowadays when everybody thinks that nobody wants to work with the Defense Department in the world of upstarts. And so I wanted to just give you a couple of quick findings from that study. It was a study of a survey of 370 U.S. artificial intelligence firms. And it revealed that despite all of the things that those companies don't like about DoD's procurement practices, the intellectual property requirements, the length and the cumbersomeness of it, limited collaboration, impenetrable jargon, and the fact that there's a pretty low level of understanding about startups and emerging companies, the study found that despite all of that, artificial intelligence companies retain highly positive views of the opportunity to contribute to national security, to work challenging problems, and to have access to large and stable budgets, not surprisingly. So, what we discover from that is that there are contracting tools right here in the Defense Department that can improve communication and collaboration between AI companies and end users. You can negotiate IP. There's lots of ways to do so now. Contract opportunities can be advertised using plain language, and that requirements can be fulfilled with open-ended problem statements, not just dictated specifications and requirements. These are all possible today, and I know Larissa is going to definitely want to comment on that, because she's one of the people using them to great advantage. The other thing I wanted to cite was an article called "To Lure Innovators, Give Them Clarity, Time, and Avoid Redundancy." It's another article that appeared in our magazine in September of this year by Amanda and Alex Bressler. And they did research on 1,050,933 unique solicitations issued by DoD, okay? And they found some things that, are going to ratify everything you've always heard, right? Most of them are very difficult to read. 59% of them require college level education, et cetera. In every year over the last decade, 70% or more of DoD solicitations had a response time of 21 days or less, not giving up people a whole lot of time there. A bunch of different, a company that's got a sought after kind of capability can find dozens to hundreds of potential opportunities floating around in the DoD space, right? But what the Bresslers said was, okay, we found all of that, but you know what? Here's what DoD needs to do. Companies have to know where to go to search for opportunities, and the search process needs to be user-friendly. They need sufficient time to identify, assess, and respond to opportunities. The customer requirements must be easily understood. All solicitations should include an estimated value and a period of performance, which they aren't required to do today. And DoD needs to coordinate its marketing and outreach efforts, especially for those high demand capabilities. So, there's been actual studies that show many of the pain points that we all know about exist, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about what's being done about that. So I'm going to toss questions up kind of basketball style. We'll have tip-offs and everybody can jump for the ball and just and start talking. My first question is going to be an Army question, because of course this is an Army session, and I like the question anyhow, and it's going to also give me an opportunity to call on Dr. Purley so she can tell you what her degrees are in. So the question is, how is the Army working to make contracting easier for my company? And there's an observation that she makes, basically saying the things I just told you about that are the hurdles that companies have to overcome to get in. So Casey, Dr. Casey, over to you.
So I'm going to start. First of all, Casey is totally fine. Second, I spent about a decade before I joined AAL studying emerging infections, things that were beginning to jump from animals to humans.
See?
I wore the big spacesuits in biosafety level 4. I worked on the hemorrhagic fever viruses. You never want your skill set as an infectious disease scientist to be in demand. You want to get ahead of Mother Nature. I'm really sorry, just on behalf of all of us. We clearly didn't do that this time.
So Brian, excuse me, just a second, Casey. Brian, if you want to move further away, that's really okay. We can see there's a lot of room in the camera.
I'm all right.
So how is the Army making contracting easier for my company, right? I think everybody on this panel, we're all trying to get after it in different ways. From an AAL perspective, one of the biggest things for us is speed. We know that a lot of times it can take forever for you to even find out if you won an award.
Casey,
get on contract. Yes.
50 cents into the jar. What the heck is AAL?
Oh, come on. There's been 4 of us on stage today. That has been well defined. We need to get you money faster. From an Army perspective, that gets us capabilities faster. From a company's perspective, it makes it feasible for you to work with us because you're not paying out of pocket. You're not wondering, do I devote resources to this or not? You heard Jay mention our Small Business Innovation Research, or SBIR program. One of the things we're really proud of is that our average notification time for that is 15 days from the time the solicitation closes. And our average time to a phase 1 contract is 42 days. So that you are beginning work with the DoD quickly and in a manner that gets money through the company much, much quicker than some other avenues. So with that, I will turn it over to my awesome colleagues who are doing things other ways as well.
How about you, Matt?
Sure. So I'll hop in here.
Mr. Contest, right?
Well, yeah. So I can certainly speak to other things we're doing within the Army Small Business Innovation Research Program. So, and I spoke to some of these in an earlier panel, but really it's all about, again, making it easier for small businesses to engage with us. So reducing proposal requirements. So typically or historically, some of these proposals would have to be 40, 50 pages for a phase 1 $100,000 award. And that just seems, it could cost more money to actually produce a proposal than it's even worth. So it's really about how we can, of course, get the requisite information to the government, but really make it easier and streamline that. How we can be more transparent about the decisions that we're making, how we can make those decisions quickly, and again, how we can get companies on contract And I'd say the other thing is, and I'll take what Colonel Wesham said a few minutes ago, and I'll take it a step further, right? So certainly we need to be as innovative as possible as we can be in our business practices. And so policy is there for a reason, statute is of course there for a reason, but I am encouraging my team and all of our acquisition professionals to question everything and see what we can do again to break down barriers and make things happen as quickly and expeditiously as possible. Because again, we're trying to drive innovation and deliver technologies to the soldier, and we want to do so as quickly as we possibly can and lean forward. Absolutely.
How about you, Brian?
So I come from a different space of 30-year retired Army colonel, now working for IBM. So I have a new perspective that's happened during the pandemic. Got to retire in 2020 and reversed roles a little bit. So when I think about what Jay just said, he said it was about the people and not the technology. What a medium-sized business like IBM can lend in is that situational understanding he talks about. We are really good about talking about what AFC is about, but what they're doing in a strong narrative, how we can get involved and quickly, is hard to figure out sometimes, especially for small businesses. So we find the opportunity to team with them, strengthen the alliance, get some situational understanding, and then we team together to go after great opportunities. So that seems to be very successful in this ecosystem.
So, Larice, you're out at Aberdeen Proving Ground, actually, with boots on the ground, if you will, every day doing contracting work. Can you talk about this a little bit of the specifics of how Army is actually undertaking to make it easier?
Absolutely. So as from a leadership perspective, we are working very closely with our contracting professionals to ensure that they understand that, we need to be transparent in our process. We need to be involved early in the process. And we need to allow our customers to know that we need a mechanism to actually get after these technologies. And so when we have engagements with industry, it's important and critical for us to be as transparent as we can, as well as let them know that these are the different ways that we can actually get after these technologies. And so we want to make sure that when we're doing acquisition planning, or our customer is trying to have a meeting or a conversation with industry to get after innovation, what things is contracting doing to put in place so that we can actually get something on board, whether it's another transaction agreement. So you're trying to get me with the OTAs and
Good work. Ooh.
or broad agency announcements, or someone already defined SIBR, so I can say SIBR. But what mechanisms are we going to leverage to actually get after some of these technologies so that industry doesn't feel the pain of kind of wasting IRAD dollars, and there's nothing kind of maturing from those conversations, except for, I'm not going to say wasting, but there's transparency. We know that exists, but now what do we do to get after that? And so we've absolutely been trying to make sure that we're involved early, and we show them that, we have a mechanism and money to get after this technology once it's discovered.
So for everybody, as I just mentioned earlier, and as we all know, and everybody in the audience knows, there seems suddenly to be like a million different ways or places to go, to knock on doors, to find some help getting into the federal and particularly the defense market. What should companies actually be doing to find the right routes? You're faced with this monstrous Pentagon thing and the hideous scariness of federal contracting. Now there seems to be like no breadcrumb trail to follow. And I'd like to hear actually from everybody, and I don't care in what order, except that I want Brian to go first because he's from the actual world of companies now.
I'm trying not to say this with any acronyms, so I don't want to get in that trouble. So the first part is, I tend to look at it, so the Army likes to break things out strategically, operationally, tactically. So once you get in an ecosystem, in a business system, that really doesn't work because you're talking military terms where it just won't work. So I talk about national networks, regional networks, and local networks. So you can see it's happening. All those three are right here in Capital Factory. So where can you tag into that if you're a small business, you're a medium business, you're a large business, and forge relationships? Stop chasing the lottery ticket transaction of the unified network operations that's going to be a $500 million contract. Stop for a second and ask yourself what relationships and what networks would build an exquisite, beautiful team that would crush anybody that's in the competition. So how do you do that? And so that's a lot of the conversations I'm having with our partners in the space.
I'll tackle it next since we're sitting next to each other. If you're new to working with the federal government in general, there are two websites that I would encourage you go to. One is the DoD Cyber Sitter portal. If you just Google that, it will come up. The other is beta.sam. That one is not the most user-friendly of places. Some of you are laughing. I guess that means you've been there. So at AAL, and I know Matt does this as well, and other entities are working on this too, we try to post our opportunities elsewhere, in addition to all of our legally required obligations to post on beta.sam, right? So from an AAL perspective, we use LinkedIn, we use Twitter. Follow us there. Like you'll definitely know what we're working on because we leverage those sources heavily. So I would encourage you to find organizations. Maybe I'm going to use the network space. If you're in the network space, find the Army people that work on networks and follow them on social media, because this is becoming a new trend that we really want to go after. And it'll have the link to the big solicitation document on beta.sam, so you don't have to go find it yourself.
Matt and Larice.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and echo what Casey was saying. We can also look at the Army Cyber website, armycyber.army.mil. We recently updated it, make it a little bit more user-friendly. And also the X-Tech Search program is another program we run out of my office, which is a huge acronym. I'm not even going to say it, but it's the Office of the Army Acquisition Executive. And that acts as a friendly front door for small businesses that might have a technology and they don't know if it has an Army application, but if they submit it through this X-Tech Search prize competition, we actually rely on Army subject matter experts to not only see are these technologies potentially viable, but connect them through mentorship and networking opportunities to really find the right customer within the Army. So look at those different websites, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter. We actually even have a Facebook page. So certainly connect there. And again, it's all about networking. And again, we are trying to be more cohesive, more coherent, and more transparent across the Army for all these different opportunities.
So Larice, I have a specific question I'd love for you to address.
Okay.
Everybody here is saying network, right? I have heard it said, maybe it's an exaggeration, but I've heard people say they've never actually been able to network with a contracting officer in the government in their entire lives. What about that?
Well, I can't speak for them, but recently there's been contracts that I've signed when I was a contracting officer that people are still contacting me on. So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I have a very open relationship with a lot of people. So I believe that we can, we have to watch that line. It's a fine line to skirt. But I feel like you can have, conversation, and we can point you in the right direction. And we know the limits of what that relationship can be. So there's no perceived, wrongdoings or conflicts of interest as we go through procurement. And echoing my colleagues or the colleagues on the board or panel, we're looking at different ways. And what I've seen with program executive offices now going through Twitter, and Snapchat, and Facebook, and some of the things that I don't even know how to use because I feel like I'm starting to get a little old. But it's like, but I love where we're going. With regard to just doing those non-traditional ways, because beta.sam is not the most user-friendly. Sorry.
I have to do it for my entire career. I had to spend a lot of time on it and its predecessor, and There were many times when I would look at something on there and say, I actually don't in any way know, having read this title and this description, what on earth it is that this program is trying to purchase at all in any way. So I am not going to spend any time trying to do that. I'm just going to move on. And I guarantee you there's a whole mess of small companies who've had that experience as well. As a matter of fact, at that time, I was really small. It was me, a small company. And having covered procurement and acquisition for more than 30 years now, being on that side of it, Brian, is a real different experience. Yep. So I think we have a ways to go in figuring that one out. I wanted to throw another question out here, and of course, it's going to start with Brian, which is how can medium and large companies assist small business and startups when they're in getting into business with DoD? I think that's a really good question. We tend to be real pro innovator, pro non-traditional government supplier, pro whiz bang cool, and forget about the fact that there are companies who've made, among other things, boku money, and also, a long and storied reputations selling to the government. And they're still out there. They're still out there, guys. And IBM being one of them. And so it would be interesting to know what it is that they're thinking about in terms of, we got to get some more innovation here. They seem to like these other companies. What do we do to help them out?
So, first of all, I think it comes at the hand of intellectual humility. So any one great company like IBM or any of the bigs, you've got to have the humility to know that you have to change over time, period. So you're probably not going to get that inside your bias-laden bureaucracy. It's not going to happen. I mean, in some cases, you'll have innovation hubs and those types of things. But what you get when you work with a small business is somebody who thinks different, maybe even somebody who changes your mind. But the nice thing we can provide is we spend millions and millions of dollars on research, hardware, software. Oh boy, expertise. I mean, talk about PhDs. We can go up to New York to our research labs. Geez, just PhDs for days. So what are those burden costs that a normal small has to go, wait, can I spend a couple more dollars to get another data scientist on this team? Or could you maybe team up with IBM and we can team up and do that data science part, a PI part of an AI exploration and some work there. The other part is the hardware and software. So look, if there's something we want to go try out in a place called Project Convergence, let's go take that hardware, let's take it to the Army, and we'll do it as a team. Benefits the small business, benefits the Army, benefits IBM. It's a win-win-win. So those are just kind of, it's really taking the burden off the small business, laying on, 100+ year company to take the burden and take some risks. Allow us to take some of the risks for the small business.
So I'm interested to know, like, I'm a small. What do I do if I think that maybe there's something IBM could help me out with? I mean, do I just send you guys an email to IBM info@IBM? I mean, that can't be right.
So I have a friend in the room that helped me fix that. There is an army@ibm.com email. So just send me an email there. Or you can look me up on LinkedIn. I think I'm tagged in, Hopin and all these other places with Capital Factory. They do that awesomely. So you can just send me a note and we'll curate a conversation. More than easy.
So Larice and Casey, I cut you both off. So you guys find it out now.
All right. So I'm going to piggyback on your teaming comment. So let's be honest. A non-traditional is not going to build the next tank for the Army, right? But you might have something that is going to make that tank better. So when you think about integration, there automatically has to become a partnership between the small and the larger company, because otherwise that's not going to work. So fostering that relationship so it is beneficial for everyone is really key. The other thing, as Jay said earlier, is, Army Futures Command, buy at scale. Can your small business make 1.1 million widgets? I mean, maybe you can, and maybe you want to scale, which is a great choice to put you in the position of making. But what if you don't, right? What if that production just seems exorbitantly daunting? The potential to pair up and maybe help with scale and production is another great place that some of our non-traditionals and larger companies can have really productive relationships. It obviously all depends on the companies. It all depends on the product. It all depends on time and speed and all of those things. But I definitely think there is a critical role that they have to play in this innovation space.
Maurice.
Yeah, I mean, it's we can't, as contracting, we can't dictate those relationships, but it's always a great idea to partner up, because we do order, the government orders at scale. So, can't do it by yourself. You partner up. We can't tell you who to partner up with, but make sure that you kind of use these opportunities, especially opportunities like now, to network and get your ideas out there, and protect yourselves as well. But network and look for these opportunities, awesome opportunities that we have posted in a myriad of places. Data.jam. But yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Okay, and so the corollary to that last question, and I think we have like 30 seconds or something, but is what can a non-traditional do to make the process easier for themselves and or their partners if they have other non-traditional partners? Matt?
I think that companies can ask questions, ask for help. Right? Yes, we are the government. We are here to help. We want to see you be successful. Ultimately, we're trying to deliver solutions to the soldier, to the warfighter, and so we want to see you be successful here, right? So, yes, there are certain lines, especially with contracting officers. I don't want to speak for Maurice, but I'd say continue to ask questions and continue to challenge us. So again, that's the recommendation I would have.
So I completely agree. I also know that programs like Matt's put out incredible resources. Templates for how to write a proposal are out there. If you don't know what you're doing, ask. We'll send them to you, right? So take advantage of what already exists that you can leverage.
So I'll jump in. So I think understanding the environment. So there's a why and a why now to doing what we're doing right now. It's a national imperative. We're losing at great power competition, period. And like we've been saying it for, let's go 8 or 9 years now. So we need to do something about that. So if you don't know why that is, there's lots out there, right? The Chief of Staff of the Army has 2 papers on there, MDO and transformation and power. MDO? I'm sorry, multi-domain operations and transformation and competition, like great power competition in the Army way. You can find that on the Army.mil website. It's more than easy to know. Read about multi-domain operations if you don't know it. That's actually, I taught a course at the War College about that. That's not like a thing you understand by reading one blog post. It's not going to happen. So bring that understanding and curate the conversation with somebody you think is in the same space. Hugely valuable.
Anybody else on that one?
Just a small business office, schedule an appointment. They help you out.
There we go.
Yeah, there we do go. So what is the sort of core of change that you guys are working to help enact in defense innovation and acquisition of defense innovation? Or innovation for defense, I should say. What change if you had to pick a change we really need to make, what is it? What drives to the core of all of the stuff that we're talking about at Fed Supernova right now, would you say?
To me, it's access. We need to give you guys access to the stakeholders within the Army or whatever service it is. We need to give you access to the end users so that you're able to make the best product you can that has the best chance of being adopted. If we don't do that, we're failing you. We're failing defense innovation. And it's going to be very hard to get the best technologies into the Army in an accelerated fashion.
1 or 2 words each for anybody else.
Culture shift. You've got to change. You got to shift the Army's culture. Great thinkers and great ideas have to matter, no matter what rank or what place they come from, period.
Yeah, I echo the culture shift. It's a big change, and it's trying to lean forward and be willing to fail. I think that's a difference for the Army. Absolutely.
Maurice, you get the last word.
I agree 100%. It's a culture shift. It's the changing of the minds.
So we kind of go full circle back to Jay, and it's people, not technology, right? So everybody, thank you very, very much. This has been a load of fun. You should, all you attendees can vote and say that they should have given us more time. I think we all got clean through without having to pay 50 cents for acronyms. Thank you guys, all of you guys, really a whole lot. This has been, as I said, a lot of fun, and look forward to talking with you more. The questions now, we're not doing questions live. We're doing questions via the Army channel on the Fed Supernova Slack, or it says you can send them directly to the speakers in Hopin. So that is the way you can ask further questions of us. And I guess we're finished now. I don't know what's happening in real life out there, but there's probably a guy coming in with a hook.
She's got us.
Thanks so much, Anne. We appreciate it. I know you can't see. Oh, there we go. Hi. Thank you. Let's give everyone a round of applause. Virtual, right? Thanks so much to you both.
Thank you so much.
Great job.